we'll do the speedy version. Attempting to record class on the off chance this is a good class. We get through a lot of stuff. Today is Wednesday, September 30th. I had to do a quick rewindy thing. There's a quiz tomorrow. Blah, blah, there. I'm assuming, no, I'm assigning IXL tomorrow. And then we're getting into the homework for today is to make sure you go through there and fill in this Fisherman thing from the back side of the notes. I'll be giving you the answers as we go through. If we do well, and I don't have to spend my time yelling at you, we're going to get through the whole thing and you will have no homework. If you're like my class period earlier today, we're barely going to get through any of it because you make me spend my whole time yelling at you. So fingers crossed, you get to be good kids and you guys have very little homework. So again, you are just filling in the side that says Fisherman as we go through to help you out. As long as you do that, you are good. Tomorrow at the beginning of class, I will be asking you random questions about the Fisherman. If you have your notes filled in, you get to cheat off yourself. If you have nothing written down, you don't get to cheat off yourself. You're just going to be confused. When I go, what's the internal conflict? And you go, I don't know what story it is. And I go, attack a child. And then I try to make you cry in front of other people. So this is where you are trying to protect yourself as best you can. And then for the quiz tomorrow, here's what the quiz is going to cover. 1, the story about the lady or the tiger and all the elements that went into it, which we've already covered. 2, the Fisherman, which we're going to read today, and you're going to make sure you have finished tonight, and we're going to talk about beginning of class tomorrow. And then 3, the story that you have to read on your own. My regular kids, you're reading a story called Fun They Had. My advanced kids are reading a story called After 20 Years. You're then going to make sure you read it, and you have to figure out, for the quiz, you have to figure out the elements on your own. Figure out the characters, figure out the setting, the plot, things like that. If you are confused on the story, both regular and advanced, on my Canvas page, if you go to like the Monday, Tuesday link, there is a video of me explaining it to you. And I will walk you through. It's like, hey, I can help explain things to you. Well, you guys are regular. So you guys are doing the Fun They Had story. And then the Fun They Had, into there and covered that one. And you guys should be good. I think that's it. That's what's going to be on quiz tomorrow or Friday, depending on the class, if we're using this recording because you guys are somewhat responsible. And that's it. That's it. Simple as that. And no, skip that. Aha! Story of the Fisherman. That's the story I want to get to with you guys for today. For the most part, except for the handful of you who are still filling out this side, we should be on story of Fisherman side to try and help you out. Those of you who are at home, I still get to pick on you. So remember, be prepared. When I say your name, you have to whoop, whoop, quickly unmute yourself and then be able to respond. So you can go ahead and start flexing your fingers to make sure you have like extra speed for hitting it and not making me take too long because then I get all grumpy and angry and yelling at a child and stuff like that. And then you guys, I am going to be reading the story out loud to you. Did I talk about the archaic pronouns with you guys yesterday? You're giving me a blank stare. We're going to go from no. All right. With this story, some of my classes I got into this already, but apparently not with you guys. This story is going to use a thing called archaic pronouns. Thee, thou, and thy. It is a way of talking to people. Where you say like, thou shall not talk during class, or I will kill thee and smack you around with thy own pencil. And so it is archaic by definition, means from a long time ago. Archaic pronouns are not ones we use today. You will probably, should not, hear people like walking down the street using thee, thou, and thy, because unless they're really, really old, we don't use them today. The reason why they're important is at one time, they were used to show power over other people. So you would use it to sass other people. Teachers would use them with their students. Thou shalt get out thy homework, and if thou does not, I will beat thee with a stick until thou cries. That is my way of saying I have power over you. If you were to use it to me, it would get you a detention. If you're like, Mr. Broviak, what is on thou tie? I cannot see it. How silly of thee. You're like, oh, you sassy, but I'm right in the throat you. If Dr. Thorpe, our principal, came in, she would use it to me. Like, Mr. Broviak, did thou just threaten to beat thy students? And I'm like, I did. I'm sorry. She's like, I'm going to fire thee. And I'm like, no, because she gets to speak down to me. Dr. Borf, our superintendent, will do the same thing. He can talk down to her. The reason I'm explaining this is it plays a big role in the story. Whichever character has the archaic pronouns is the one that has power throughout it. So pay attention to figure out who has power in story. Ooh. If you want to have a fun activity, tonight when you're at home and your parents are making dinner, start busting out your archaic pronouns, and they're going to think you're being polite when really you're being sassy. You're like, Mom, what did thou make for dinner? It smells delicious. What did thou make? I can't wait to eat thee food. And she'd be like, oh, that's so sweet of you. And you're like, giggle, giggle, sweet. When really you're sassing your parents the entire time and telling them that you have power over them. So yes, I am giving thou the power to sass thy parents. So use thou power wisely. And if they smack you, run. But that sounds like a you issue. All right, then now we get to get into our story. Sorry, I forgot to spotlight myself. All right, there. Now, Blaze, you are reading ahead in the story, so that means you cannot be answering things in the story. I'm going to have to throat punch you also. Mr. Broviak, I'm not paying attention to you already. What a fun game we have. All right, let's begin. The story of the fisherman. There was once upon a time a fisherman so old and so poor that he could scarcely manage to support his wife and 3 children. He went every day to fish very early in the morning, and each day he made a rule not to throw his nets more than 4 times. He started out one morning by moonlight and came to the seashore. He undressed and threw his nets, and as he was drawing them towards the bank, he felt a great weight. By the way, those of you who are responsible, you've already figured out part of our character and part of our setting. Will we be writing that down? No, just the responsible kids, not you. You go ahead and stare at the wall and drool. He thought he had caught a large fish, and he felt very pleased. But a moment afterwards, seeing that instead of a fish, he only had in his nets the body of an old rotted donkey, he was much disappointed. Upset with having such a bad haul, once he had mended his nets, which the carcass had broken in several places, he threw them a second time. In drawing them in, he again felt a great weight, but he thought they were full of fish. But he only found a large basket full of rubbish. He was much annoyed. Oh, fortune, he cried, do not trifle thus with me, a poor fisherman who can hardly support his family. So saying, he threw away the rubbish, and after having washed his nets clean of the dirt, he threw them for the 3rd time. But he only drew in stones, shells, and mud. He was almost in despair. Then he threw his nets a 4th time. When he thought he had a fish, he drew them in with a great deal of trouble. There was no fish, however, but he found a golden container, which by its weight seemed to be full of, something. And he noticed that it was fastened and sealed with lead, with the impression of a king's seal smashed into the top of it. He was delighted. I can sell it to the metal foundry, he said. With the money I shall get for it, I shall buy a bushel of wheat. Pausing there for a moment. Right, there. So far, setting-wise, where is our story taking place? You can do it together. It is taking place at a seashore. I have visual art to try and make it more fun for you. Taking place at a seashore, it could be next to the ocean, beach, something like that. What time of day is it taking place?
Early in the morning.
How do you know? There you go. So early in the morning, the moon is still out. Then, who is our only character we have so far? There you go. Oh, wait. What does our fisherman use to fish with? He does not use a pole. So I couldn't find a good picture of a fisherman using nets. You're going to have to use your imagination. This one had a fishing pole, and I really high quality photoshopped it out. And so now I put a net in its place, and you can see the fish jumping below because I couldn't figure out how to get rid of that part of it. But anyway, we have our fisherman is very strict. He will only throw his nets a certain number of times. How many times will he throw them? Nicely done. 4 times. So as he goes through, he throws them up 4 times. When he throws them the first time, what does he catch? Yeah, which is really weird. I don't know why there was a donkey. There's not like ocean donkeys like go flying through there. But apparently he pulls out a giant donkey carcass. It's like the worst Shrek episode ever. He's like, donkey! And he pulls it out. And again, I had kids go, Mr. BroviCast, can't you eat that? Yeah. This is like roadkill. You should not eat random things that are dead. Like yum, 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 unless you're some kind of wizardy thing. So no, don't eat dead donkey. Throw his donkey away. He throws him second time. What does he get on second throw? Yeah. Again, I don't know where he is that people are just like taking an entire trash can, like, yeet, and just throwing it out there. But that's what he finds. Giant trash can. He's like, well, that was a bummer. Then he throws it a third time. What do we get on third throw? Shells, rocks, and random stuff. Those of you who are prepared to pass NWE Yay, how many throws does he have remaining? So he throws it one last time. On last throw, what does he get? Now, again, I had trouble finding a good picture of golden container. So use your imagination. I have the next best thing, which is a jelly jar. Because I figured jelly is almost as good as gold, and there's gold on the top. And I was like, I felt like I nailed it. Now, to help you, I've also brought in one so we can act it out together. Because there's going to be like scenes. We're going to perform this like a play. So hang on a second. I've brought in my container for you. Now, I know your first thought is, Mr. BroviCast, but that's not gold. Here's where you're wrong. This is a Star Wars container, which means it's as good as gold. So it's along those same lines. So this is what he finds is containery thing, and he gets all excited. But the problem is, you can't eat this, no matter how good your teeth are. They're just going to bounce off like the muzzle I'm forced to wear. But what can he do with this? He can sell it. That's why he gets excited. He's like, I can sell it, make fat cash, and I can go buy food, and that's what's going to work for him. Here's what our guy's getting ready to do. He's also going to find out in a moment. Hang on 1 second. What's that over there? Back. Okay. Sorry. I didn't want you to see what was on the screen. I just wanted to trick you guys. So I had you guys look all in that direction. All right. So anyway, I was just distracting the kids in here so they did not see what popped up on the screen. Those of you at home, just pretend you didn't see it for a moment as I was trying to do make-believe. And we're going to see how it works with my quick sleight of hands. For those of you who are at home, the 3 of you I saw turn around, that makes it even better when I said, what's over there? And 3 kids at home like look behind them. And I'm like, that was the best thing ever. Thank you for entertaining me. I appreciate it. So now he has containery thing. We're going to get to the next stage. Continuing on. He examined the jar on all sides. He shook it to see if it would rattle, but he heard nothing. And so, judging from the impression, oh, I forgot one thing. He talks about a seal being on top. So I had kids get confused earlier, and they thought it like a seal, like kind of seal. And they're like, he had a seal on top of it, and they got all excited. I'm like, you can eat the seal. I'm like, no, not that kind of seal. By seal, it means like it has like a thing smashed into the top of it, like this one. It has, and so the one he has a king's seal in the top of it. This also has a king's seal, because it says Star Wars, which is the king of movies. So it's like the same thing. So that's what he's referring to. No, Jeriel, you're gonna have to wait to yell at me as we keep going. I know you got excited for a moment. You got all attacked. All right, continuing on there. But he heard nothing. And so, judging from the impression of the seal and the lid, he thought there must be something precious inside. To find out, He took his knife. Hang on, let me pull out my knife. He took out his knife, and with a little trouble, he opened it. I know, I'm a really good actor. It feels like it's actually happening in front. Don't shake your head no at me. I'm mastering this. He turned it upside down, but nothing came out, which surprised him very much. Set it in front of him. Good acting. He set it in front of him, and while he was looking at it attentively, such a thick smoke came out that he had to step back a pace or two. This smoke rose up to the clouds and, stretching over the sea and the shore, formed a thick mist which astonished the fishermen. When all the smoke was out of the jar, it gathered itself together and became a thick mass in which appeared a genie twice as large as the largest giant. When he saw such a terrible-looking monster, the fisherman would like to have run away, but he trembled so much with fright he could not move a step. Hang on one second. Great king of the genie, cried the monster in front of him. I will never again disobey you. At these words, the fisherman took courage. What is this you are saying, great genie? Tell me your history and how you came to be shut up in that vase. At this, the genie looked at the fisherman haughtily. Haughtily, not haughtily, like haughty, but haughtily is when you have a whole lot of attitude, like you're better than someone. I imagine if you ever run into a Kardashian and you go, what up? The look they give you is going to be what the definition of haughtily is. You're like, what up, Chloe? He's like, whatever, and like throws a hand in your face. That's haughtily. Says haughtily, thou shalt speak to me more respectfully before I kill thee. Alas, why should you kill me? Cried the fisherman. I have just freed you. Have you already forgotten that? No, answered the genie, but that will not prevent thy death. And I'm only going to grant thee one favor, and that is to choose the manner of thy death. Hopefully, I did a decent job distinguishing my two voices. So you can tell fisherman and genie. I've been practicing at my theater school. So now, back to here. He opened, Jeriel, why are you wanting to yell at me, Jeriel? My acting skills are on point.
One of the 3 rules of a genie is that they're not allowed to kill. So how would he kill?
Obviously, this genie didn't go to the same genie school that you did. Our genie went to a different genie school. Sassy child, you can't try and control a genie. That's like the Aladdin genie. So this one, he opens it up. Here's your trick questions. When he first opens it and turns it upside down, what comes out?
Nothing.
Oh, never mind. But then he sets it down. And when he sets it down, what comes out?
No.
Oh, never mind. You guys are smarter than my 5th period kids. Then, what does the smoke turn into?
The genie.
Apparently, you guys paid attention. My 5th period just nodded at me a whole lot. So nicely done. So then out comes Genie. Now, normally, if you go to the same school that Jeriel goes to for his genies, how many wishes is the genie supposed to give you? Our genie does not do very well at NWEA. How many wishes does our genie give you? Apparently, he's like, 3 is so many. We're just going to stop at 1. Plus, he gives him the one, given, if you do well with that one wish, all you need is 1. But our genie gives him one really special wish. And what is his one really special wish? How you want to die. And that is the one wish that he gives him. Like, that's the worst wish ever, which I would definitely agree with. So now we have to there, and then the wishing, and then the dying, and then the different wishes. Oh, our archaic pronouns. One of our characters is using archaic pronouns. Which one is it? Because who has power? Genie uses pronouns. Genie has the power. This next part, we're going to find out why our genie was so grumpy. Do you guys know how long a century is? 100 years. Pay attention to that, because he's going to be making references to this next part. We're going to find out our genie was not always grumpy. He used to be a happy, friendly genie, and then became a grumpy genie. Yes. But what have I done to you? Asked the fisherman. I cannot treat thee in any other way, said the genie. And if thou would knowest why, listen to my story. I rebelled against the king of the genii. To punish me, he shut me up in this vase of copper and put on the leaden cover his seal, which is an enchantment powerful enough to prevent my coming out. Then he had the vase thrown into the sea. Quick time out. So you guys get a chance to bond with Genie. Much like with you guys, he rebelled against his parents. And sort of like instead of having a parent, he has King Genie. And much like you guys go home like, Mommy and Daddy, rock on, I'm rebelling, sneaking out at night. And so much like you guys get grounded, Genie got grounded. But he got grounded to his room. And what is the Genie's room? This is Genie's room that he gets grounded into. Now, you guys get grounded for like a week or 2 weeks, or for those of you kids who really flex, like 5 months. But our Genie puts all of you to shame. During the first period of my captivity, I vowed that if anyone should free me before 100 years were past, I would make him so rich, even his grandchildren would not be able to spend all his wealth. Why can't you? But that century, I'm glad to see you got excited. But that century passed and no one freed me. So how long has he been trapped so long? Nicely done. In the second century, I vowed that I would give all the treasures in the world to my deliverer, but he never came. How long now? Nice, good translation. In the third, I promised to make him a potent king, to be always near him, and to grant him 3 wishes every day. But that century passed away as the other 2 had done, and I remained in the same plight. At last, I grew angry at being captive for so long, and I vowed that if anyone would release me, I would kill him at once, and would only allow him to choose in what manner he should die. So you see, as you have freed me today, choose in what way you will die. The fisherman was very unhappy. What an unlucky man I am to have freed you. I implore you to spare my life. I have told thee, said the genie, it is impossible. Choose quickly, or thou art wasting time. The fisherman began to devise a scheme. First off, how long was Genie trapped? Well, at least how many? And beyond that, actually, I don't know. We know at least 300. It could be 400. It could be 500. We know at 300, he stopped being a nice guy. He was like, I'm no more giving you stuff. Now, if you free me, if you free him now, what's he going to do? Except give you one wish, which is how you want to die. By the way, for me, my choice would be death by kitten. I don't know what that would involve, but I assume it would make my gravestone really exciting. If you were walking by, it was like Mr. Broviak killed by kittens. You're like, oh my God, what kind of story? So I can only imagine how exciting that would be. Now, it might be a horrible way to go, but death by kittens is my dream. I know it's that death by old age would be one way of going, but for all you know, it could be like a sassy genie. He just like wiggles your fingers, like, I'm aging, and like you like 100 years, like all of 5 minutes. And he's like, giggle, 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 genie. And so that's his thing. Speaking of Antoinette trying to come up with a plan, do you guys know what a scheme is? What's a scheme? Nicely done. So our fisherman comes up with a plan, much like Antoinette. He is not going to give up. He is not choosing death by kitten. Our fisherman is going to choose something else. Let us continue. Since I must die, he said, it's going to involve the fisherman asking one question. Pay attention to this one question. It is one very important and very special question. Since I must die, he said, before I choose the manner of my death, I ask you on your honor to answer me truly one question. The genie, finding himself presented with such a positive response to his command, trembled and replied, "Ask what thou wilt, but make it quick." I, I wish to know, said the fisherman, if you really were in this vase that whole time. Dare you swear it by the name of the great God? I do swear by that great name that I was. I really cannot believe it, said the fisherman. That vase could not even contain one of your feet. How could your whole body go into it? I cannot believe it unless I see you do this incredible thing. You guys know what reverse psychology is? We're going to come back to it in a second. Is it possible, replied the genie, that thou dost not believe me after the solemn oath I have taken? Truly not I, said the fisherman, nor will I believe you unless you go into the vessel again. The genie began to change himself into smoke, which, as before, spread over the sea and the shore, and which, then collecting itself together, began to go back into the vase slowly and evenly, so there was nothing left outside. Then a voice came from the vase, which said to the fisherman, "Well, unbelieving fisherman, here I am in the vase. Do you believe me now?" So, real quick, what is the question that the fisherman asks? So the trick is not ask. He does not ask him to go back in. He says, "Were you in there?" Because basically, he's calling the genie a gigantic liar. It's that whole reverse psychology thing that your parents do with you when you were a kid. And they're like, "I bet you can't clean your room in 15 minutes." And you're like, "Yes, I can." Like, "No, you can't." A kid who can clean their room in 15 minutes gets a piece of candy. You're like, "Game on!" You start cleaning your whole room. "I got this whole room clean." And you get there, like, "I get candy." You're like, "Man, you tricked me." And you're like, "Yeah, dumb trick. Wait a minute, my room's clean." And so your parents have tricked you. That's the same thing the fisherman's doing. You can't ask, "Will you go back in there?" Instead, he comes up with his reverse psychology scheme to trick the genie back into it. But don't worry, our fisherman's not done yet. Remember our archaic pronouns? Who is using the archaic pronouns so far? Pay close attention. The fisherman, instead of answering, took the lid of lead and slammed it down quickly on the vase. "Oh, genie," he cried, "now it is your turn to beg my favor, but I shall throw you into the sea from where I took you, and then I'm going to build a house on the shore to warn fishermen who come to cast their nets here against fishing up such a wicked genie as thou art, who vows to kill the man who frees thee." At these words, the genie did all he could to get out, but he could not because of the enchantment of the lid. Then he tried to get out by cunning. "Open the vessel," said he. "Give me my liberty, and I promise to satisfy thee till thy own happiness is fulfilled." "Thou art a traitor," replied the fisherman. "I should deserve to lose my life if I were such a fool as to trust thee. If I trust myself to thee," continued the fisherman, "then I am sure you will surely betray me again in the future when it suits your needs. No, you shall forever remain encased in this tomb." And there our story ends. Who gets to use the archaic pronouns at the end? Because who has power at the end? The fisherman. And so that's how our story switches, where he gets to trick the fisherman back into it, and all of our fun stuff from there. Now the fisherman has power, and the genie does not. In theory, you should now have a whole backside filled in. "Mr. Brovey, I've not done that yet." Then I guess we have homework. Tomorrow we're going to be going over the story, but I get to randomly pick on children to see which kids have filled it in and which kids I get to torment. So until tomorrow and the quiz, make sure you read the story and keep looking scared. and I'll see you later. Toots my boots! I feel the same way, Jerry L.